rolling.
Welcome to Character Driven. I'm here with Ole Dammegard. I'm speaking to him from his home in Spain. Ole is a researcher, an author, an inventor, a former journalist. He's now putting light on conspiracies, which is the name of his website, lightonconspiracies.com.
So welcome to my world.
First of all, I want to ask, how is it that you ended up living in Spain? Because I don't detect a Spanish accent with you.
My name is a bit Spanish sounding, Ole Ole, but otherwise than that, I was born in Denmark and I moved to Sweden when I was a boy. And the reason why I'm in Spain now is because for about 30 years I've been looking very deeply into many different major assassinations and false flag operations and so-called terror acts like 9/11, Oklahoma City and so on. And while living in Sweden, I was deeply involved in trying to find out what actually happened to the Swedish Prime Minister Olof Palme that was gunned down in the street of Stockholm in 1986. And together with two friends, we got very close to the real truth. And unfortunately, both of them were killed in very dramatic circumstances. I was threatened as well, and I just felt I don't want to become part of the statistics. So I and my family, we decided to leave rather quickly. And since then, I've spent almost 15 years in Spain.
And you actually have a book that you wrote to do with that assassination.
Well, the book is called Coup d'etat in slow motion. Coup d'etat in slow motion. And it's about, it's almost 1,100 pages. It's not like a study of my opinion about what happened. It's like a jigsaw put together, very fact-based, with all the names, photos, letters, documents, all the people involved that I've been able to expose, who they were, who funded them, who were driving the escape cars, backup shooters, the whole setup, how it was carried out, but also with all the connections to other major conspiracies and also assassination on a very high level, because there are direct links. I managed to find direct links between that assassination, which was carried out in February 1986, with Dealey Plaza, where JFK was killed in 1963. People on location are at both these awful deeds. Yeah, and also it is also this book also uncovers a lot of the connection into the Iran-Contra scandal. You know, drugs going out from the States, weapons going out, drugs coming in, and the whole set up international Freemasonry network and pedophile network and so on. So it's a extremely complex assassination that was not a Swedish murder, but connected to this global elite that is now the ones behind the so-called New World Order. That is the power elite that was behind that assassination as well.
So did you look into that as a journalist? Is that something that, piqued your interest for what you did in the years to come? Or were you already pretty aware that there were these dark forces at work behind such things as a journalist or just as a researcher yourself?
No, I started in the early 80s, so I mean it's 30 years now, and I had absolutely no idea what I was getting myself into. I mean, I was just an ordinary guy but I did grow up in a family, Danish family, that was very much involved in the resistance movement during the Nazi occupation of Denmark in the Second World War. So me and my sister and brother grew up with all these stories about the importance of standing up, even if you're in the minority of one, that you still have like this, even though the enemy might look like Goliath, you still have to stand up, even though it's shit scary. And my dad was very much involved in the resistance movement. He was in the Danish military as well. My granddad was in jail for helping Jews escape to Sweden, and I think it was my grandmother's sister who used to smuggle weapons to the underground guerrilla in baby cots and so on. So, like, I think I for some reason I got this with me from when I was a child, and it has helped me since then.
Yeah, I think in your video you actually show the photographs of your dad and honor him for the work that he did. And it sounds like you do have quite a legacy generationally of standing up and not allowing evil to take over. That's a pretty amazing story, really, in and of itself. You were in the midst of everything there. We in North America don't have quite the same immediacy of those stories. Although my dad was in the war, but the stories come home. You are actually part of the story. I love the idea of your grandmother smuggling weapons, in baby cots and such. It's amazing what people were doing.
It's amazing what people are still doing, in these situations when they're being oppressed or in very difficult situations. The human being has such an incredible way of surviving and this drive, the thing that you got inside yourself when you know what is right and what is wrong. Mm-hmm. This is also the what I try to use as a compass for myself, like a GPS. Ask your heart. Your heart will always guide you. Sometimes it will tell you do things that are very scary, but you still have to do it. Because the thing is, you have to live with yourself, and if you don't do it, you have to live with that, and that is not a very nice feeling. So I prefer trying to follow my heart and let that guide me. Mm-hmm. So quite a few times I've done illegal things where the law has said one thing, but my heart has said another thing, and I feel proud about that. I do that very easily. At the same time, I'm not saying that break laws just to break laws. I'm saying when there are unjust laws and your heart tells you something different, then follow your heart. That is my way, at least.
And that would tie in nicely with the other work that you're doing, the book Remind Me. We were just talking about that a little bit before the show, and we were talking about mindfulness in general, being in the moment, so that when we are more mindful, then we're hearing those instructions and hearing what we're meant to be doing instead of pushing them away or ignoring them, which is something I guess that we become habituated to if we do it enough. But we can also become habituated to hearing and following those difficult tasks that are put before us.
I totally agree. I mean, you just look at children; they still listen. They have the voice inside them, and they are in the younger years. They really listen to it. They're very in touch with it. See how they treat the animals. If a child is not messed up by parents or family around them, they turn up treating everything with respect, with curiosity, with compassion and love and these things. And you see this beautiful way that life is supposed to be. If you look what is going around a child, in the contact with animals and so on. Mm-hmm. But then the longer we live, especially in modern society, the more messed up we get. And then we lose the track and we stop listening to this voice. But the voice is always there. But it's very quiet. And I would say very often your feelings will be the ones that guide you back to it. Because when you get off track, I would suggest that your feelings is like a GPS that is helping you keep on track. When you feel compassionate, when you feel passionate about something, and you say, not passionate in like an angry way, but what I'm saying, when you have a passion for something, that is almost like that's the one that will show you the direction through life which you're supposed to take. The more you get off track and start doing things because you have to, or because you're obliged to, or because your logic mind tells you that, my God, you won't make any money or you can't make a living like that. And so the more you get off track and stop listening to your passion inside, the more depressed you get, the more sad and frustrated and so on. And these feelings are there, in my opinion, to guide you back to say, whoop, 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 you're off track. Please rethink, get back, and then you can guide yourself with your feelings, sort of like, where do I feel good, and then boom, you start following them. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying take the easy way out, feel good just because you don't have to face unpleasant feelings. I'm saying that if you start using your feelings as a guiding system, it will help you on track to what you're here to do, because I believe that all of us are here for a unique reason. I mean, I have no idea what your is. I think part of your dharma is doing this program. I know for sure part of mine is being on this side of the microphone. But other people can have it like being a baker or a carpenter, or, I mean, there's a need for all of us. But it's the passion that will show you where you belong. Mm-hmm. So when people are confused in life, I just say, instead of trying to, what am I supposed to become when I grow old or grow up or whatever, follow your passion, see where your passion, what is it you feel, where is what gives you goosebumps? The goosebumps will guide you so in the right direction.
And that's something, I think that being the parent of a lot of children, I've been around a lot of children, and I've chosen to be around a lot of children, and I've had the privilege of doing that. It's something that I've taught them, I think, to just continue to listen to their own direction. It's so amazing when you raise a lot of children and you're in that environment, how you're sort of immunized from the rest of the world that's become cynical. And here I am at the other end of raising kids, and I still have that sense of curiosity and that sort of thing. I think because we've surrounded ourselves. And so I see that some people are hopeless and they feel that they need to take a much harsher tap as they get older, because they've probably had so much opposition and they've lost that ability to have that childlike relationship in the world. For me, that's why we're doing this kind of work, so that we can get back to that and that freedom. That's all part of freedom, to have that childlike curiosity and follow our heart, as you say. So I'm just, absolutely confirming what you're saying as a mom and as a person in the media. I'm also a grandma too, so that's one of the reasons that I do this. Not just this generation, but leaving this world in a way that is at least occupiable, if you want to put it that way, by the next generations, without letting these folks have their way and do the damage that they plan to do. So having said that, I would like to focus back on what it is that you're doing, how you go about giving this information to people. Let's say they've just started and they're saying there's definitely something going on in the world and I can't quite figure it out. So rather than those people like us that have been involved in this for a long time, where would you start in that, besides the fact that you yourself have experienced this firsthand? Can you start from the beginning and let people know what's happening in the world? Is that something you can do in I'll give you 5 minutes to tell me everything that's happening in the world.
Okay.
But I'm kidding about the 5 minutes.
No, the thing is that if I tell you what's going on, it will freak most people totally out. Because if you're not aware of what is going on, it is incredible and a very, very painful awakening for most people. Because I would suggest that we have been duped and tricked for a long, long time by a small group of people. We're talking in the thousands. So it's actually, when you look at it globally, they have very few compared to how many we are. But for many generations, they've been working very hard on centralizing the power to fewer and fewer and fewer. And they've done it in a way so that they've been behind the curtains, pulling the strings without us understanding what's going on. But nowadays, where more and more people are awakening and starting to see what's going on, they're freaking out, and they've started to speed up a lot of things because they need to get us in total control before all of us wake up, because they are very fearful, small little group, because they know how few they are compared to how incredibly many we are. And the way that they try to control us or have control us is through fear. Fear is their tool. Terror and fear, that's the one. Mm-hmm. And they have the way that they have been. It is if you look over many hundreds of years back to the old Roman age and so on, this has been repeated again and again. How a small group of people have many times announced themselves as king or emperor or president or whatever. They have elected themselves saying, we are the elite few and you will have to become our slaves. We won't let you know that you're our slaves, but that is the way it will be. We will be up here and you will be down there doing whatever we want. So how is it possible for a very few to control so many? This is how the old Romans came up with different templates, almost like tactics of how to control a population. And this is the same tactics that they're using to this very day. They're just being updated and upgraded and modernized. One of the real heavy ones that they're using on an incredible scale today is the old problem, reaction, solution. Mm-hmm. It's like if we, as an example, here in Europe, unfortunately, what I'm going to describe is almost like you have it in the States now. But here in Europe, if, for instance, in Spain or something like that, if I was the one in power in Spain and I suddenly wanted to have total control of the population, I want to have tanks in the streets. I wanted to have the police to turn into RoboCops. I want to have drones flying around everywhere to be able to blow people up. I wanted to be able to kick in doors without search warrants. I wanted to detain people without letting them have the possibility for a trial and so on. I would, if I was the president of Spain, I would have the power to do that. I could just order the military and the police to do it. But if I did, if you study history, which I think is extremely important, because if we don't study it, it will repeat itself.
The real history as compared to the manufactured history.
Yep, that is so true. So true. But once, if you see, like, for instance, in Latin America and so on, when there were military coups done, backed and funded by the CIA, but where a small group of military officers and so on, they went in, they killed the president that was elected by the people, they took over the Congress or the Senate or wherever they were, the government, and within 24 hours, they were in a position of total power. Perfect, if you look from their point of view. But, when the population woke up the next morning and suddenly discovered that, oh my God, we have a military dictatorship in this country, from that minute, you would have major problems with uprisings, guerrilla movements, demonstrations, so-called terror attacks. It's always the people in power that calls the opposition for terrorists, and so on. So, if I did that from that very moment, I would have a major mess on my hands. And when you look at the countries like Colombia, Ecuador, Argentina, Chile, and so on, in the end, with these when they did these military coups, in the end, they almost had to have as much military staff in the streets as there was people in the population, who in mass arrest and torture to try and find out where all the new or the future enemies would hide and so on. So an absolute mess. So instead, what this template says is create an enemy from the outside. Create a threat from the outside. So what has been used multiple times, especially the last 50 years, is that the one in power secretly create a problem. Nowadays, this is very often in the form of a bomb or a so-called terror attack. It is I who am sitting in power. I am the one doing it. And most of the time, I do it in the form of a so-called drill. I have a drill somewhere. If let's say that I'm going to do one of these problem, reaction, solution things, I would, because the whole idea is to get the population to accept my solution. And my solution, if you remember, would be tanks in the street, martial law, drones in the air, all of these things that I described before. So how to do that? If I just do it, I would have massive uprising with the population, maybe boycotts from other countries, maybe financial boycotts and so on. So I have to do it in a different way. So what they do is they very often do it in the form of a bomb, because they need the population to react emotionally, not logically, emotionally. And the reaction they want is, oh my God, something needs to be done. Mm-hmm. That's the reaction they're looking for. So what they do is, they often, if we follow the template that they use, they often prepare a bomb. They need explosion. It's just like on a film set. They need drama. So we need dead bodies, we need blood, smoke, explosions, all of these things. And the group to aim for is women and children. Mm-hmm. That's the one, because it's emotions we're looking for here. It's not powerful enough if you blow up some old cows or a couple of old guys or a tractor or something like that. No. Women and children. And also what they normally have as part of the drama are nurses or nuns, doctors, missionaries. These are sometimes the ingredients they have in this almost like when they bake a pie, a terror pie. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I secretly place this bomb, and it needs to be placed in a very central place in a city. It's no good out in the countryside. It's no good where there's no people. It's no good in the middle of the night. It needs to be daytime. Very often early in the morning, when people are the most vulnerable emotionally, they've just woken up and so on. That's the time they hit you. And so what they do, they place this bomb very central in a place where there's a lot of people moving, coming, going on, and so on. So it would be like a train station, supermarket, maybe a big plaza or a big building. And the things that they're looking for in the neighborhood are daycare centers, children's hospitals, these type of things, because that is where they can get the emotion going. Mm-hmm. At the same time as this is being prepared, the explosives and these things are being transported there in the form of these drills. They always have, it's the standard item in these so-called terror acts, is that they have a drill with the exact same scenario going on at that exact same time. And the reason for that is that they, otherwise normal people would become suspicious of these strange vehicles or people doing strange things, running around in uniform or carrying around electric wires or explosives, these type of things. That would be very suspicious. But when they do it as a drill, they use that as a camouflage, and then right in the middle of the drill, that will suddenly go live. And many times the people who are part of the drill doesn't even know that it's a real thing. So it's all built on a need to know chain. You only know your part, totally compartmentalized, so that nobody can expose the whole picture. Very, very few people will know the whole picture. Most of the people involved will only know their little part, and so on. Okay, so we got the bomb in place. We got the, also what I need to do is I need to prepare a patsy, somebody I can blame for it, because we need an enemy outside so that people will not look at me. I'm the one sitting in power, but it would be the patsy. It would be the boogeyman. And in the 60s, it used to be Russians, East Germans, Bulgarians, when the Iron Curtain was still there. Mm-hmm. Then the boogeyman was there. Before that, it was in the Second World War, so it was the Germans or it was the Japanese. These were the mm-hmm. Then when the wall came down in early 1991, 89, suddenly there was a time where there was no boogeyman, there was nobody to blame for these type of things. So mm-hmm. they were freaking out a little bit because they didn't know who can we control the population with. So they started trying with a threat from outer space. The alien threat didn't work. Nobody really bought it. And that's when they found out, the Muslims, these are the perfect boogeymen, because they've got very strange names, Abdul, Karim, Karumkara. They come from countries where people have no idea where the country even is. They know nothing about this thing. They pumped up this whole thing about Islam so that people think, normal people who don't study anything or study history or religion or anything, they think nowadays that Islam equals terrorism and Muslim equals terrorist. This is absolutely total lie. It's very far from the real truth. But this is how we've been pumped and pumped and pumped with this scenario. So the Muslims, perfect, because they need to work in media. They need to freak you out when you see the photo in the newspaper and it says, this guy brought the bomb to the daycare center and blew it up. It doesn't work if he looks like a wuss, a nice little... He can look like a geek nowadays, but it doesn't work if he looks very nice and doesn't work. So, but if he's got like big dark eyebrows, black eyes, and his name is, like I said, Abdul Karim Karumkara, and he's all of this, and he's connected to this strange secret group, people will buy it. And it's absolute lies. Every single time when you look into these terror acts, I mean, it's so set up, and these poor buggers that have to take the fall for it are totally innocent, more or less all the time. And part of this problem reaction solution is also to get rid of the patsy. Mm-hmm. They try to kill him on sight because then it's case closed. And they always want a lone crazy guy. They want him alone because then by law there's no conspiracy. Conspiracy is then when two or more people conspire to do a criminal act for a political purpose. That is what is called a terror act. But a conspiracy, so if it's a lone crazy guy, alone, there's no need to look into it as a conspiracy. And crazy, because then there's no need to look for a motive. He was crazy, he went up, he shot the guy, case closed. So as soon as the patsy is killed, boom, thank you folks, have a nice day, go home, watch
it's
TV.
All solved. Nothing to look at here.
Nothing to look on, continue walking to the left, go home, put on your TV sets, go shopping, and thank you very much. So the patsy is being prepared. He has absolutely no idea, but through the drill as well, they get him in position so that he can be blamed for it or killed in a position where he said, well, that will show that he's the guy. Very often this guy kills himself as well. That's standard. First he does this awful act and then he commits suicide. Mm-hmm. Standard procedure to get it closed, Mm-hmm. Nail the coffin, thank you, goodbye, and farewell. Then also I need to prepare a lot of evidence that as soon as the explosion goes off, boom, the evidence will point straight towards the patsy. So you have a technical unit that goes in straight after it happened and secure the crime scene. Officially, they're there to look for evidence. Absolutely not. What they're doing, they clean out the real evidence and they plant the false evidence towards the patsy. That's their task. Then at the same time, I've got my own investigation on standby. This is an investigation that it only has one task, and that is to go in there and cover up the truth. Be like a wall that will just say, no, 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 no. And point at the patsy, point at the patsy, point at the patsy. So this investigation will be handpicked people that I control. I'm the one behind the problem, behind the explosion. These are key people that I control. And like I said, the only task they have is to stop anyone like myself as an investigator to really get too close to the truth. The only thing they have to do is point. They went that away, they went that away, they went that away. Anywhere away from the real truth. And as soon as the bomb goes off, boom, this investigation goes in. It's on standby before it happens, and it comes in very quickly. And it just knocks out every normal, decent, honest detective, police investigator. All of these people are pushed to the side, and in goes this investigation.
to Ole Dammegard on Character-Driven, CHLY 101.7 FM, chly.ca.
And also, if that doesn't work, because very often, like after 1 year or 2 years or something like that, the public are just like, come on, there's so much that is just absolute lies around this thing, especially mothers of victims. They do not back down. And they are normally a real pain in the butt. So what they've done is that if there's enough criticism coming from the public, in the end, they will appoint a so-called commission, like the Warren Commission or the 9/11 Commission. But these, it's very, very important to understand, these commissions are part of the crime. They are part of the crime. They're only there to drag it out, drag it out, drag it out. And then after 1 year or so, there were loads of stories so boring in the newspaper that people just get so fed up with the whole thing. And then finally they come forward and they publish their report, and the report will say absolute zero. It will be like thousands of pages, so absolute no one had can get through them, and very sloppily made very often. And then the commission will say, well, the investigation, their people did a great job, but they made some mistakes. Very sorry about that. But in all, it's pretty good done. And sorry, there's nothing else we can do. Also, the commission is only there to look at the investigation, not the crime itself. And then if the public hasn't had enough and bought the official story by then, but still keep repeating or saying, protesting against the official story, then after a year or two down the line, you will just get another commission. And that commission will look into the first commission that looked into the investigation. None of them will look into the crime, really. And like in the assassination of the Swedish Prime Minister, there were 3 different commissions, and they will just continue until we give up and let it go. So anyway.
It's the wearing down process.
Totally. And it works very well. It works very, very well. And then, okay, so if we come to the day when this is to be carried out, what we'll do is the bomb is in position, we get the patsy in position, the evidence is prepared, the investigation is on standby, and then we wait until maybe 8:30, 8:15, 8:30 in the morning. People have just had their coffee. As much people as possible is on their way to work or home or to school or something, because it needs to be so that as many people get affected as possible, so that they will say, oh my God, I was there only 20 minutes before, or I was, I should have gone to a meeting an hour later and then this happened. So as many as possible is affected by it. So 9:15, 8:15, around 9 o'clock, just had your coffee, still not really awake, boom, that's when it goes off. And then the whole idea is to spread all of these awful, awful images of blown up children, women, all of these things, pump it out through media that I, the one in power, control to a major extent. So I pump it out. And also I get the reporters on site to deliver the solution as soon as possible. Nowadays, when you see these so-called false flag operation or these so-called terror acts, which are nowadays it's an absolute baloney. There's so many of them that are just so badly carried out. But what they do is the reporter on site will interview somebody, a witness. Very often this witness is part of this whole setup as well. The witness is there to deliver the emotional thing. Oh my God, I saw this woman. She was blown up. It's awful. It's awful. It's awful. Okay. And then the reporter will say, my God, we really need to. And then boom, here's where the solution comes. So the reporter will describe the problem, get the reaction from the witness, and then come with a solution so that you don't have to think yourself at all. Mm-hmm. So very often nowadays
we'll do all the thinking for you.
Exactly. So, I'm standing out here. It's the Navy base here. We've had a mass shooting problem. Okay. The reaction, I interview somebody on site. Oh, so it's awful. There was blood everywhere. He was shot, and this awful, this crazy guy just went around screaming Allah Akbar before he blew himself up. Oh, it's awful. Reaction. And then the reporter says, my God, we need a stricter gun law, or we need more protection at the airports. Or they will deliver the solution there. Become aware of it, because you will see this on such a regular basis nowadays. Mm-hmm. Problem, reaction, solution. It's a standard one they use.
And the talking heads works really well too when we've got 24-hour news to fill the time. We get in our experts to buoy up the concept that, we do need better gun controls or more controls over terrorists or whatever it is. So it just kind of inculcates that idea even further.
Do you know there's a reason why more or less all of the mass shootings are in the States? Because it's in the States that they want the population to give up the weapons. It's only there where you have this incredible amount of weapons among the population. That's why it happened there, because they want the weapons to be the problem. It's not that there's a lot of crazy people running around shooting, so maybe we should pump in a lot of money into the psychiatrist or medical staff for mentally ill people. That's not where they want to pump the millions. No. They want you to think that it's the weapons that are there. And they start with the automatic weapons and the heavier weapons. But in the end, they will go for knives and forks as well, It just grades
box
down.
Cutters, anything you have in your house. I think for people who, especially in Canada, where we have different gun laws, we have a different way of looking at it. And part of the way that people get co-opted is that they feel that having guns is scary, and we want to take them out of the house. Often, as you say, it's to do with the kids. We don't want to have the kids hurting themselves, so we'll take those guns. That's always been classically the first way that governments have had their way. They want to disarm the people.
Once again, study history. That is exactly how dictators do it. They do it. They do it step by step. They try to get you to bring them out yourself. They say, today we have a gun amnesty day, bring out all your illegal weapons and we will, sometimes they even reward people for taking out these guns that they've been hiding at home, not knowing what to do with them. But then, otherwise it comes to a point where, you now have the chance to give over your weapons. And then after that, they will start doing more, aggressive ones. But the easiest one for them is to do the problem, reaction, and solution, because then if they can persuade people to see that, oh my God, the weapons is the problem. It's not that there is a dictator that has hijacked the government who is trying to get the weapons out of the way so that they can just totally rape the country. That's not the problem. It's the weapons. But I just want to say I am total pro non-violence. I'm totally against weapons and so on. At the same time, I say to people in the States, do not give them up, because it is just because they fear that you have them. That is one of the things that stops this global elite from just pushing forward. So keep the weapons, do not use them, but keep them there, I would say.
And learn how to use them if you need to, I suppose. There's that aspect too, which is more on the dark side of things, but it's the way that things are going in many areas of the world. There's no reason to think that it wouldn't happen down the street from you. It is kind of a dichotomy, I suppose, for those of us that are peace-loving and would never want to use them. But it's that sort of sense that we need to have that as our resistance to the agenda that's afoot.
It is a very tricky one, I think. I spend a lot. I've done hundreds of radio interviews, and I spend a lot of time trying to speak directly to people in uniform, soldiers, police, sheriff, and so on, because these are the people that is protecting this small group of people that are, in my opinion, when you look at their actions, they're absolutely mad. They might look very nice on TV and decent and so on, and tell you the things you want to hear, but my God, when you look at the actions and the mentality behind their deeds, it's like totally mad.
Even listening to their own words, when we hear Rockefeller in his own words talking about those of us that are not part of the plan in the most deprecating way possible, the various people who are actually in their own words giving their assessment of humanity. I think if we put those together as evidence, that in and of itself might surprise people. Just for people that might not know that, I'm putting you on the spot here, but I'm not sure if you have any of those quotes from some of those people in power that might be a little bit disconcerting if we knew what they were thinking.
Disconcerting is a good word.
Disconcerting.
You got like Henry Kissinger. I mean, he was given the Nobel Peace Prize, one of the absolute worst war criminals that has ever been on Mother Earth. He has several times talked about humanity or the normal people, us, as useless eaters. Mm-hmm. If you listen to the words useless eaters, what does that tell you? And that is the way they see us. They have absolutely no respect for us. They want to get rid of 2/3 of us according to their own agenda. Not very nice. And like David Rockefeller as well is another one who talks totally. They see themselves as an elite few and the rest of us as slaves. I'm sorry to be if you didn't know that, I'm sorry to be the messenger. But this is their own words. And this is only one, but if you look at the mentality behind this whole thing, you can study, there's a document called Agenda 21, mm-hmm. Agenda 21, which is their plan on what it is they're trying to accomplish in the world. And that is shit scary if you've ever seen anything. This is taking the world into an Orwellian Orwellian
mm-hmm.
State of absolute nightmare, where they're trying to push this world. And
all under the auspices of sustainability and green and we're just going to make sure everybody's on the grid and living in the cities and have an infrastructure and it's so insidious, and this is my absolute focus. We've got ICLEI on our local municipal councils. We've got them pushing Agenda 21. And while we're, looking at these bombs that are going off in some other area, we've got things being slowly passed where the agenda is being perpetrated on us. And we actually pay for it, $1,200 a year to belong to ICLEI, for the privilege of having our freedom and, lives taken away. The new, I guess you've seen the new commercial that I was just talking about this morning, where a bunch of people not that much older than, myself or people that I know are saying, well, I've lived my life and now I need to get my footprint off the earth. And this whole idea of global warming and that we're all to blame. And so if people like me make any comments about it, or I'm not sure if you've been talking about that as well, I'm sure you have, but we sound like, we're really into guns and we're really against the environment. All the very things that we are actually trying to protect, they create this illusion that those that are dissenters are somehow the perpetrators. of a lie, because now we've all agreed that we're supposed to be green and have a carbon tax on our bodies and everything else that is natural. And we're supposed to buy into all of this because we don't understand even the science behind it. You know, it just gets pushed on us so that we believe it to be true. And it's I believe, in 1961, the school system was starting to be part of we know that it's part of the mind control, but it was definitely indoctrinated by the UN that we were going to teach all the children about sustainability. That's my 2 bits about Agenda 21. We've had Rosa Corey on the show and have tried to explain things from her point of view and her research. I do try to go to the source. I'm stunned by how uninformed people are about these things.
Do you know, it's like when you really start getting into it, the level of madness behind their agenda, it is just so absurd that you can't even get to grip it because it's so bizarre. It doesn't make it less true, though, because this is what they're pushing forward. And the scary thing with Agenda 21 is that they carried out on 3 different levels at the same time: internationally, nationally, and locally. Mm-hmm. So while you're focused on the international thing, oh my God, this is going on, you have to check out your own town as well, what's going on here, because it's being pushed and financed behind the curtains. And well, I'm sure I would be surprised if there's not something called Agenda 21 for Dummies or something like that on YouTube. I'm sure there are like maybe 5-minute short explanations of this whole thing. But this agenda, it's not some future thing. This is moving forward fast. There's so many countries that have already signed and are doing it. We're talking many, I think more than 100 countries have signed up for this, and it's absolutely bizarre.
It's been happening since the inception of the agenda by the UN in the 60s. So all of us have been indoctrinated through the school system, and we've been prepared for this time, but it's all part of a plan that's been in motion for decades. And so, of course, now we're seeing the fruits of that, where we're all buying into the concepts. It doesn't even have to be explained to us. We just go, of course, this is a no-brainer. We all have to be getting rid of ourselves. That's the best way that abuse can be perpetrated is, we don't have to actually kill the person. They'll do it themselves.
Yeah.
It's
and
amazing.
the whole thing is that they have a very hard-driven agenda that they're pushing on us, but they're giving the guilt to us, saying, no,
yes,
you're destroying it. You will have to pay because it's your fault. You have done this. You are driving your car to work, to and from work. Because of that, you are destroying the environment. Instead of saying, okay, if we should maybe get some balance to the whole thing, how many tons of aluminum are you spraying all over my head every single day? Let's
yes,
get some balance to the whole thing.
Exactly. It's not that we're not worried about the environment. We're incredibly worried about the environment because it's being contaminated left and right by the chemtrails and by the pollution that has been created by these nefarious folk. And that's the thing. If we can get us all fighting with one another and deciding that, you're to blame. Just anecdotally, I'd heard a person talking about how she was left in the desert in Arizona over an argument that she had with a friend of hers. They had non-disposable cups, and this woman had decided that she was going to go into the gas station and just get coffee because there's nowhere to wash the cup. And this lady freaked out at her, the driver, when she came out with these disposable cups, and told her how bad she was. These are really good friends that have been driving. And the other woman throws the coffee at her, and the driver leaves her in the desert, and she ended up having to make her way back to Ontario on her own. They want us to be so driven and so angry that we will actually turn in our best friends or family, and we will have that kind of hatred for one another. And it's perfect. That was anecdotally what I feel is the perfect way that this manifests itself on a practical level for these guys.
It's divide and conquer. And, they want the attention away from them And so that we start blaming each other. That's how they create all the civil wars, how they divide up the societies, how they deconstruct societies, you know, because this is what they're trying. They're trying to make us weak internationally, nationally, and locally. And because we're back to, once again, they are a very small group. We are so many. They need us very, very weak and very distressed and fearful to be able to control us.
This is the first of a 2-part interview with Ole Dammegard. Listen to part 2 next week. All of the music that you hear was composed and performed by Ole Dammegard. For more information and links, go to CharacterDriven.com.
so free of blame.